Wow, that was like magic. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, good. Well, this is a full house tonight. That's exciting to see. And we have such great presenters tonight, small wonder. So I'm Lynn, Nino. I've been organizing these tripod shows for, I think, about 5 years. Things you need to know, there's a bathroom downstairs at the back and another one over here. There will not be a fire drill, although maybe there should be. And Erik is our AV guy up there. And one of the great things he does is record these shows and then post them on YouTube. So it usually takes him about a week to organize things and get them posted, so you might look for that and then add it to your resume. So our first presenter tonight is Jessica Spring. She began her interest in typesetting and printing as a photo typesetter in the 1980s. Her introduction to letterpress printing paralleled the birth of desktop publishing, an exciting time to explore graphic arts. She has been a letterpress printer ever since, researching historic type composition and inventing daredevil furniture to help other printers set type in circles, curves, and angles. Her work at Spring Tide Press, artist books, broadsides, and ephemera, where typography plays a central role, is included in national and international collections. Spring taught book arts and printing at Pacific Lutheran University for 16 years and currently teaches letterpress workshops around the country. She collaborated on the Dead Feminist Broadside series with Chandler O'Leary, and they co-authored Dead Feminists, Historic Heroines in Living Color. Jessica?
Good luck, prop. Thank you, Lynn. Thanks for inviting me to talk to all of you. And I think you paid $3, so I will give you $1 back if it's lousy, and you can take the rest up with Bev and Tinkertopia for your refund. So thank you for letting me talk about my favorite things, letterpress printing and Tacoma. My shop is a short walk from here, and I need the gizmo, don't I? All right, what do I do? So I know you got to include dogs in a presentation. I probably should have put it later to save the show. But anyway, this is Chase and Mac, also known as Mac and Chase. And they are an integral part of the shop at Springtide Press. And Lynn mentioned Daredevil furniture. So just if you need a definition for letterpress printing, it is printing from a raised surface. So that could be metal type, wood type, which I brought, linoleum, and all of these have to be 0.918 inches. You put ink on top, you roll it through the press, and Bob's your uncle. There's letterpress printing. So typically it's done on the y-axis, and I like to make circles and other shenanigans on the press if possible. It makes it a lot more fun. That's my husband, Tim, and my son, Jack, in New York. Jack moved away, but he is a Tacoman. It's kind of cool. And I also have had good luck in my life here in Tacoma to work with lots and lots of great people, some regular crews that have come to the shop and have learned more about printing, and so many people coming to visit from Tacoma for studio tours over the years, which has been so cool. Like, kids come back every year and they're like, I know how to use that press. So that is super heartwarming. And along with the daredevil typesetting, I do have some messages I love to get across whenever possible, and to use my furniture and wood type to do that. And I also love ephemera, as Lynn mentioned. And these are the other really cool machine I have in the shop is a perforator. So it's a pinhole perforator, and you just poke holes through gummed paper, so I can make my own stamps. I think I'm gonna start printing money soon too. That's in the plans, yeah. I did work at PLU for 16 years, and I'm mostly very proud of the students I have who are out in the world actually making a living letterpress printing, which is, it's not easy to do. As many people tell me, it's a dying trade, but so is living, so. There are some students hard at work. So I'm going to kind of give you the timeline and some great connections of being in Tacoma and people that I've had the chance to collaborate with. But I came in 2004, I think 2003, 2004 I did this, and that was my Mount Rainier. I had never said I know how to draw. So thankfully this story changed because I met a lot of people who do know how to draw, and things changed. This was one of the first projects I did with Chris Sharp, and we were doing poster for studio tour, and he did this incredible smoking turkey. I hope you can read the text. It's really funny. And Scattered Ephemera was this really interesting show that Amy McBride, it wasn't just a show, they brought all these artists from New Orleans, and we painted the streets and installed stuff in the Woolworth windows and got to do posters, and then we did something to the toll booth with gummed paper that was perforated, and you had to tear off pieces. I don't know, anybody remember this? It was a really cool project. But the thing about the turkey poster is we printed a lot of them, and on the back was printed this, "You'll like Tacoma." Let's see. And unfortunately, that's what everybody loved about the poster. Nobody saw the front. I was like, okay, I'm wise to this. So I started printing "You'll like Tacoma" posters. It was like printing money. But I didn't charge much for them. And after a while, I was like, okay, if you really like Tacoma, I think you should really love Tacoma. It's time to commit. So part of my love for the city came early on. We bought a house built in 1890, and up in the attic were glass negatives from that time. Amazing, right? And they are incredible photos, and so I ended up making an artist book with these glass negatives. So new to Tacoma, I didn't have, the 5th grade field trip to Mount Rainier or whatever y'all did. I came from Chicago. I knew nothing. So I got a lot of help from the Northwest room in trying to identify these slides, scan them, made paper, and so you can see the images, and it's sort of supposed to feel like Tacoma at a crossroads at this time when we were moving from a frontier city to a place with a middle class that was a leisure class, and it was kind of amazing to see this. The other great thing that happened soon after I moved to Tacoma was meeting Chandler O'Leary, and she can draw. You all know that, right? And I figured that out pretty quickly, and so we started working together on the Dead Feminist series, and we did, over the time that we had together, 33 different broadsides, and featured 33 different women, quotes. The rules of the game were they had to be dead, and the quotes supported whatever social justice cause we wanted to talk about. And it was an amazing, amazing project. And it's obviously, as a friend, I miss her, but we had so many more prints to make together. So that is really hard. I miss her for that reason too. This was one of my favorites we did. It was actually a steamroller print for the Waze Goose, and Faye Fuller was an amazing journalist from Tacoma who climbed Mount Rainier. And the little hairpins Chandler included, she lost on the trail up the mountain. So I love, Chandler always found the right detail to include, and it just made it so much better. And what I brought to the party, I figured out we could cut the linoleum, hand ink the black and blue separately, put them back together, and then have the steamroller go over. So we were a good team. So that's what I can tell you. And our book is still around. I still can't believe that it's out there selling. But more importantly, Chandler has books at King's available. Her most recent one, called On Island Time, is amazing. If you don't have it, you should. Go get it. I also had the chance to collaborate the first time with Sweet Pea, the owner of King's Books, for this guidebook for books that are banned and challenged. And so we did it the first time in 2005. We did it again in 2024, and there's so many more books. The original edition was a lot of Harry Potter. Now it's almost LGBTQ, and it's amazing how organized these efforts to ban and challenge books are. This book is available at King's Books, and I brought it if you want to see it too. This is goes to the way back. Lisa Kinoshita did an amazing show at Foss Waterway Seaport, and the exhibits from all the different artists were kind of hidden. You had to go find them, and so my contribution was these weather tapes, and you'd attach them to a machine, but I pre-printed weather and then hooked up the machine to it, so it was running in the museum, and then we'd have these records of how the weather was during each week of the exhibit. Come on. This is a project that I had the opportunity to work on through the Greater Tacoma Community Foundation, and I started by making paper with great red, was it Western red cedar, and amazingly, printed amazingly well, and here's some of my goofy typesetting. And the finished piece I found down on Antique Row, and the original thing was a sales kit for somebody selling shingles, right? And I removed the original sales pieces, and I added my own text that was a comparison of kind of Tacoma and our community to a forest, and how humans lean on each other, and how we have many sort of tree-like qualities when we behave well, at least. This is another favorite show that was at the downtown post office, and the show was called Recollection. I love making lots of puns, if you haven't figured that out already. And this show centered around my dad's collecting habits. He, as a kid, collected milk bottle caps and matchbook covers. He had Alzheimer's, and he gave me his collection, and we sorted everything together, and it helped him remember things that he had forgotten, like riding with the milkman and getting paid in milk bottle caps. So sweet. So it was so fun to show him. And what I did, my contribution was to do reproductions at 400% of the original matchbooks, and make improvements on the printing if I felt that was necessary. You know, the bad registration, I couldn't stand repeating that. And then this was the show down at the post office, and it was really fun to bring him there and actually see it there. And every time I go downtown, I want to do it again. It was so fun. Come on, clicker. So during the pandemic, I had a chance to work on a public art project through the public art reaching community. And this was interactive. I printed a lot of You'll Heal Tacomas and installed them in fencing in Stanley Playfield. And so people could go and retrieve a poster and then leave an answer for how they thought they could help heal Tacoma and what we needed to do. It was really, really amazing, the responses that people left. And I usually work on such a small scale, so this was super fun to be a little more tiny. Not tiny, maximal. How am I doing on time, boss? Good, I guess. So, prop for this one. So this is some wood type here. And when I taught at Pacific Lutheran, I had this wonderful student who had a grandma who had a boathouse in Browns Point. She kept telling us about all of this wood type, and we would lust for the wood type. We just wished we could have it. After her grandmother passed away, she gave me a call. I was over in Browns Point in like 5 minutes, well, 10, and brought home all this incredible wood type, and it's so big it was too big for my presses. So I made a trip for a residency to California with my car full of the wood type and printed these portmanteaus. So a portmanteau is a word suitcase. It was during the pandemic, so I brought these bright inks and bright colors to the project, and it was a very hopeful time. And then it got bound. Hello? This clicker does not like me. So the prints got folded down and put into this incredible box made by Gabby Cooksey, who is a bookbinder who has worked in my shop for almost 10 years now, super talented. And so she actually made a physical suitcase that the prints went into. And then this is how it comes apart. So you have to unpack the suitcase, unpack the prints, and to experience the book. Another project was to create with type that came from the Tulalip tribes. They lent them to me on behalf of the Puyallup Tribal Language Program. So I created land acknowledgement and a fundraiser with this type. And it was really an honor to be able to have it. I got it for about a month. So I was able to also print Tacoma and make some postcards and raise some money for the program. This is a book, another artist book that was a collaboration with Alice Desmarais. She taught biology at University of Puget Sound, and we had the chance to talk about plastics in the environment. So you can see I printed with actual plastic. Those are drinking straws. And the backgrounds of all the images are the plastics, and then the text is a 19th century poem, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and it's a love poem about how much we love plastic and we can't stop loving it, and the irony of that. And then Alice wrote the text, the red flags that pop up that tell us what plastic is doing to our bodies and the effect of us wanting to be so sterile. Everything wrapped in plastic is literally making us sterile. And that's the book when you unfold the whole thing. I brought that too, if you'd like to see it. And there's Sweet Gabby helping me with the bookbinding and laying out this huge project. And the last big project I worked on in the shop is called One-Liners, and I started at the beginning of 2021, and every day I set one line of type in the collection at Springtide Press, and that took me until April 2022. And so the result is both a specimen, a type specimen, and a journal of the crazy times that we had that you already have forgotten, but you read the book and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. So that's here if you'd like to look at it. It's really not me, you guys, I swear. Come on. And last book, this is also with Gabby, about Abby Williams Hill. She was a painter, and they have her archives at University of Puget Sound, and they had an exhibit there with artists from Tacoma to talk about her work. And she would take her kids in a boat over to Vashon. They would camp and do crafts and play with nature, and her journals are kind of incredible, talking about the time that they had together there every summer and the efforts to, for crying in the sink. It's a church, so I can't. Okay, there's a detail. So it's kind of a patchwork tent, and Gabby made it so that you have to unpack the tent and build it on those sticks. Okay, last thing. Tacoma Ways Goose, it's coming up May 3rd and 4th, but that is something that I started with Sweet Pea at King's Books, and we had 15 great years at King's Books, then a little hiatus, and it came back last year at Moore Library. Clicking. And here's a little way back, Chandler and I working on a very big print with Taya Foss and steamrolling on the sidewalk in the city of Tacoma, don't tell anybody. And now we do it all legit in the parking lot. But this is beautiful poster. The theme this year is sweet and salty, and Yoshi Nakagawa printed, she did the linoleum carvings. I found another friend who can draw, right? Did the linoleum carvings, and then they were printed at Right 253 by Line Break Press. And that is it. Thank you for your patience.
So, any questions?
Where is your studio?
It's behind my house over on Yakima, 2 blocks away. Yes?
Do you ever play with offset printing?
No.
No. Okay, that answers my question.
You said something about a shop. Is the shop the same as your studio, or is that another location? It's the same.
I'm a printer. I still don't identify as an artist, so I say shop. Yeah. Sorry, I should stand here.
Any more questions?
Hi, Jessica. Your work is all fantastic.
Thank you.
But I just had a quick question. The You'll Heal Tacoma and the answers that you got to that project, are they available to view somewhere?
Say it again.
The project that you did during the pandemic, You'll Heal Tacoma.
Just come see it. Talk to me.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and is there somewhere
Oh,
that we
I-
can see the answers that were left there?
I haven't done that. I have them in a pile. My intent was to make a book with it, and it just hasn't happened.
That sounds good. I'll come see him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can help me.
I will help you. I will help you.
I know you would.
Anybody else? Thanks, Jessica. So for the last few months, I've been inviting you to send me pictures of your pets. And now I probably have about 100 pictures like that. So next month, May, the third Friday in May. What happened to those notes? We'll be doing the pet show. And Beth Freeman will be presenting one of the 3 shows. She's a volunteer at the Humane Society. And then another volunteer at the Humane Society, Debbie, will be presenting a show, a fundraiser the Humane Society does called Poorly Drawn Pets. And this is where they invite the public to submit a photograph of their pet. And then if you were to look on Facebook for poorly drawn pets, you would see that it's likely children are doing the drawings of the pets. Although we'll find out next month for sure. So I hope you come to that show. So next, our next speaker is Beverly Choltco-Devlin, a lifelong sketcher who has been a member of the Urban Sketchers Tacoma for the last 10 years and now serves as co-administrator along with Kate Buke and Lori Johnson of the chapter. Her first urban sketch was done at the age of 15 in New York City at the Museum of Modern Art during a high school art trip. She is also an avid nature sketcher and journalist, birder, gentle hiker, and gardener with a focus on native plants. She has taught sketching, drawing, and watercolor painting in upstate New York, from where she moved 11 years ago. And here in Western Washington at local libraries, the North Cascades Institute and the Tahoma Bird Alliance. Beverly?
My throat has been impacted by all the pollen in here, so I apologize. See if I might need your help, Jessica. We are Urban Sketchers Tacoma, and Urban Sketchers Tacoma is a group that was started in Tacoma 11 years ago. Last year we celebrated our 10th anniversary. I started a year after the Tacoma chapter began. Urban Sketchers is now an international organization that has formal outings throughout the entire world. It was started in Seattle by the Seattle Times illustrator Gabi Campanario, and I have to say it just changed my life when I moved here. I moved here after living in upstate New York for 30 years, and I feel a synchronicity today because of because of Jessica and Chandler and Darcy. I was the manager of the main library for most of the 10 years that I've lived here. I retired 3 years ago. And Jessica talking about books and art and Darcy's creative endeavors at the library and urban sketching have brought my life to completion. But I don't want to talk so much about me as much as feature the urban sketchers in Tacoma who submit work on our website and on our Facebook page. And we have outings 3 times a month, official outings. And I did want to introduce Frances Buckmaster, who started our chapter, and she's in the audience today. And several of my fellow sketchers are here tonight, and a couple of them will have their works featured. So I'm going to feature the work of urban sketchers, and hopefully you can see, when you get to mine, you'll see, oh, you don't really need to know how to draw. I'm terrible at buildings. It's just something that's not instinctive to me. But you'll see some incredible artists, I hope, and I'll let those things speak for themselves. If you wonder what urban sketching is, the obvious thing is you go out and sketch things in a city, but that's not always the case. So this is our manifesto, and this is an official manifesto of all the Urban Sketcher chapters throughout the world. And we draw on location. Our drawings tell a story of our surroundings, the places we live, and where we travel. Our drawings are a record of time and place. We are truthful to the scenes we witness. We use any kind of media and cherish our individual styles. We support each other and draw together. We share our drawings online, and we show the world one drawing at a time. You do not have to know how to draw. It's about the experience. And one thing I will say is that for me, and I think for most other urban sketchers, the connection between the mind and the hand and recording what you see creates this synthesis in our beings that allow us to really remember and reflect details and experiences about the time that we are there much more significantly than, say, taking a photo. And that difference is remarkable. So I'm going to try to get this to work. So, they're going. There we go. This is, I'm going to introduce each artist. This is Francis's work. Francis Buckmaster is an incredible, incredible artist and a kind and generous human being. I have to say, when I first moved here, she was the first friend that I made when I moved here through my attending my first urban sketch outing. You were right, this is sensitive. So we go to different places throughout the Puget Sound. Sometimes we go a little further north, but we do have a chapter, sub-chapter in Gig Harbor, and we're also incorporating some of people from Olympia. So we all got together, and we don't really, we're not territorial, I'll say. We'll go wherever there is an opportunity to sketch. So we are very excited that we get to go to some cool places that people might not think to go. So every couple of years we go to Ed Hume's demonstration gardens. And it's an amazing place. We usually go in the spring or the summer when everything is in bloom. And this is Francis's sketch of the Children's Garden, which is a remarkable place. They have puzzles there, so if you ever get the opportunity to go there, it's really wonderful. This is Francis's sketch of free donuts and coffee at the Harley Davidson in Fife. And, it's an incredible sketch, and it's interesting because when you're doing urban sketching, you might be a little nervous about sketching in front of people or sketching people, and Francis has no qualms about that. I'm still trying to get over my fear of sketching other people while they know I'm sketching them. I figure I do nature sketching as well, and I think that, you know, it's much easier to draw a rock or a leaf because you don't have to worry about it if it looks like the actual thing you're looking at. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. And this is the hot shop at the Museum of Glass. And so the thing about urban sketching is you do it while you're there. You never draw from a photograph. You can use a photograph for reference if you want to add details later, but all of these are done on site. Sometimes you'll get the sketch in and then add colors later, but the gist of it is you get the basic sketch and drawing down while you're actually there. So these are just remarkable. All of them are today. I'm so sorry. It is sensitive. This is a display at the Washington State History Museum that we have had several outings there. So you're all welcome to join us. You don't have to know how to draw. It's very exciting. And so this is Francis's sketch there of a display that they have there. One of the co-administrators is Kate Buke. She unfortunately could not be here tonight, but she's passionate about urban sketching, and she's actually an administrator for both the Seattle and the Tacoma Urban Sketchers chapters. This is, everyone knows what this is, it's a Stadium High School. This is Chinese Reconciliation Park. These are the crystal towers on the Museum of Glass Bridge, the Bridge of Glass. There's Gertie's Ghost. Does everyone know where that is? Yep. And this is the picture of the University of Puget Sound that Kate did. Next is mine, and these are in alphabetical order, by the way, by the artist. So this was pretty early on. This is the 509 Bridge and the Tacoma Dome. And I usually, and we all usually put, whether it's an urban sketch outing on our actual sketches, but you don't have to come to an outing to be an urban sketcher. You just take your sketchbook out and you sketch. And you don't ever have to show anyone. We are a very, very supportive group, though. We have a throwdown at the end of every session, and we admire each other's work. We never offer criticism unless the artist wants some suggestions, but it's very, very supportive. We have people that have not sketched since kindergarten that come and join us. It's just such a great community. I can't recommend it highly enough. And if you think that you can't sketch, don't let that bother you, because it's the process that's important. Not my work is not going to be in the Louvre, and most sketches don't ever get in the Louvre except for perhaps Da Vinci's, but this was the Festival of the Sail. And so this was from across the waterway. Now it won't go at all. This is RJ's Burger Joint at what is now called Freight House Station. It used to be Freight House Square. It's a great place to sketch, so you buy a cup of coffee or get a meal and you can sit and sketch all day. And there are so many cool signs in that building with all the vendors there. Now here's a story that I'd like to tell. I know at one point Peter Darling gave a presentation for tripods. And as many of you may know, Peter passed away back in February. What a remarkable man. And the story behind this particular sketch, which is not all that accomplished, was it was one of my first outings, and we went to the Washington State History Museum, and I was trying to practice people because I'm so used to drawing rocks and trees and mountains. I said, well, I really should try to draw people. And so there was a display there of this woman in this beautiful outfit. So I'm sketching, and it's, not coming out all that great. But all of a sudden, this man comes up to me who's also among our urban sketchers. And I didn't really know everyone at that time. And Peter comes up to me and says, that's my wife's wedding outfit from when we got married. And they donated it to the Washington State History Museum. And Peter and I were fast friends after that day. I gave him a print of the sketch, It's not, as you can see, you know, very detailed or even a good likeness, although it was a mannequin, so I can be given a little bit of credit there. But Peter and I became fast friends, and we would often go out on sketch outings together. And this sketch brings me so much joy because it was the start of a really, really wonderful friendship with a remarkable human being. I went to his memorial service, and there were over 300 people at that service because he touched so many people's lives. So 2 weeks before Peter passed away, he and I had been emailing, and he told me that about tonight, and he wanted to come tonight. And so we were emailing, and he told me that he had been sick, and he wasn't sure if he was going to make it, but he wanted me to show this sketch. He was in hospice at the time, and this was the second to last sketch that he ever did. And he made a commitment before he died that he was going to sketch all of the wood trolls in the Puget Sound region. And he actually accomplished this in, this one was done in October, and he finally finished the last one in December. So he did meet his goal of sketching all of the trolls. So at his memorial, I got some of his art paper and made a commitment to his wife, Anne, that I would go and do all of the trolls as well and give her a copy of the prints. So that's Peter's second to last sketch. And Peter was a world traveler. This urban sketching doesn't have to take place in Tacoma, so he traveled a lot. I have a long way to go. So I will, so I'm just going to go through, those are the two stories I wanted, so I'm just going to go through the rest of the artists quickly. These are the work of Feather Hilger, who used to come here for her Artist's Way class downstairs. And now we are looking at Pam Jenkins' work. She's one of our Gig Harbor people. This is the Viking stained glass boats in the Hotel Murano. These are Pam's. Lori Johnson's another co-administrator. She's over in Gig Harbor. Loretta Morgan Fernandez is another sketcher. She's here in Tacoma. She had an interesting situation where she actually got asked to use one of her urban sketches on a box, one of those utility boxes. Sorry. This is Liz Norland. That's Stadium Bowl and Stadium High School. A lot of people love sketching Stadium High School. This is Susan Payne, who recently had an injury, so she hasn't been able to sketch a lot lately. And this is Bridget Ralston. She's also a nature sketcher. She sketches a lot with me. And finally is Mark Ryan, who's sitting right there. Mark is a big inspiration for me, and that's the end of the show. Do you have any questions? I have
How do you join?
Oh, funny you should ask. I have some handouts up here that Francis brought. If you like sketching, if you think you'd like to try sketching, even if you have not done it since kindergarten or even earlier, we welcome everyone. I know some people have come here, and I hope that they will agree with me. It's just, you don't have to know how to draw. You just need to make marks about what you see. And if you can write your name, I always tell people this when they get fearful of drawing in my lessons, when I teach, is if you know how to write your name, you know how to draw, because every letter was made from a pictograph, which was a drawing of something. So you already, once you put that mark on the paper, that's all you need to do. So we have handouts, and I can give you some more information. Our primary means of communication are through our Facebook page, and we have a blog that you can sign up for with an email, and that's where our outings are listed. We have them on the first Saturday, the second Thursday, which is Gig Harbor, but they sometimes come over the bridge, and then the third Wednesday. So we have scheduled things, but you're always welcome to post whatever you've done outside of the events at any time you choose. Any other questions?
So, I think of sketching as, pencils or charcoal, and I see that most of these are watercolors, right?
Yes.
Is that watercolor applied at the site, or is it later when you go home?
It can be both. So most of us at least get our first washes down. If you were at like this past Wednesday, we were at Knutson's Tulip Farm, and it was so windy that you didn't have to wait for the washes to dry, in fact, because it was so windy and it was hot out. It wasn't hot, it was actually cold, but the sun was shining. So it's just up to you. As long as you get your preliminary sketch down with even just pencil, and if you just do pencil, that's fine. We have a sketcher that does oil. A lot of people ask what the difference between plein air painting and urban sketching is, and there's not I always think of plein air as there's sort of Venn diagrams. So urban sketching isn't always done in an urban area, and plein air is not always done with big easels and paint. So it's a lot of overlap. But yes, so I would say a good percentage do ink and watercolor, but some people just use pencil and other people do oil paint. So one of our urban sketchers did a whole oil paint in 2 hours while we were at Knutson's farm. So whatever you choose to do, some people just do toned paper, where they'll just bring like white pencils, so they'll use the toned paper as the middle value. Anything else? They're usually 2.5 hours. So they start at 10 and they usually go to 12:30. So you have 2.5 hours to draw. We then have what's called a throwdown, and so everyone displays their work, and then we have always a group picture of everybody holding their work, and it's usually not so close that the world can't see it if you don't want them to, or you can just stand there and be in the picture without holding your work up. It's very supportive, and you learn a lot from looking at other people's work. Any other questions? We'd love for anyone here to join us. We absolutely love having new people, and we have a couple of relatively new people in the audience as well.
Any more questions? Thank you, Beverly. That was great. So our next speakers are R.R. Anderson and Ms. Darcy from Tinkertopia. And last month, when I was standing up here talking and I was getting ready to introduce somebody, the last presenter took my notes. So this time, I have most of the notes, but it looks like I left page 2 at home. Ms. Darcy Anderson has been playing around with scrap and found objects for as long as she can remember, building assemblage dioramas, puppets, and whimsical sculptures. Her work skirts the boundary of a childlike desire to explore abandoned playthings. Drawn to subtle creepiness, she tries to balance whimsy and her wonder in nature. Currently, her obsessions are building puppets or animating an old haunted dollhouse. Mr. Darcy, or R.R. Anderson, has classically trained in commercial art during the dot-com era, now subverting those skills and repackaging and one-off bootlegs, selling America's consumer waste back to itself and other life hacks of survival. That's a book he probably will never have the energy to write. R.R. is interested in political cartoons and learning how to make ... You guys want to come up and present? That's all I've got.
Hi, everybody. So I'm so used to being up here on the stage talking from a perspective of Spaceworks Tacoma, because, well, I champion them as giving us a start in what we love to do and a passionate connection to our community. So I always start off saying that we're so grateful for Tacoma and the community here and Spaceworks Tacoma. RR and I grew up in Juneau, Alaska. We've known each other since first grade. And we both went to art school at different places, and then he ended up in Tacoma in 2001, and I followed shortly thereafter, about 2004, and so we've been here setting in our roots and raising a kid and really loving the creative energy that this town has, and the families that we've embraced as part of our own families through the store. I had no idea opening up a little shop front was going to be, I thought, okay, well, we're a small mom and pop, and we're gonna raise our kid in our store, but I had no idea how many other people's kids we were gonna see grow up with us, and being part of the School of the Arts campus downtown has really been a joyful experience. Our kid goes there now, which was, probably part of the plan. Kindergarten through high school, we get to be part of him there at the store. I thought this would be a good opportunity we're gonna do a few slides of the shop, and then some of our own personal work that the shop has enabled us to be creative with. So I'll do a few, and then I'll pass it over to RR, and you can jump in anytime you want to talk. Maybe you can be my slide guy, because I'm nervous about that. So here's our shop front. Anybody not been to Tinkertopia, raise your hand. Oh my gosh. So I'm actually amazed. I have people come in. We've been down there for 10.5 years, and there are locals that come in, and they're like, how long have you been here? I'm like, 10.5 years. And they're like, well, I guess I don't come downtown very often. So come downtown. It's cool. Come to the store. It's a really fun place. It's full of weird stuff. It's all of our community stuff. It's a shop that's run by you, basically. The donations that we get in. It's an archaeological dig. It's a find. It's all this nostalgia, and we get to make art with it and see other people make art with it. which is what we're all about with creative reuse. So here's a couple of things. I have a background in education, early childhood ed, as well as a little bit of puppeteering, so and storytelling, and I love making sculptures and puppets. So these are just slides of the ephemera and the energy of the store. We recently had a meeting with our liaison at the University of Washington, and he was looking around. We've been there for 10 years, and we were looking at pictures from before, and it was like so empty. And he was like looking around, and I go, yeah, I know there's a lot of stuff. And he goes, no, it's texture. I love this, it's texture. So yeah, there's a lot of texture in the store, and sometimes photographs don't always come off very well because there is so much to look at. And I always know if someone hasn't been in the store ever before because they come in like this. And I just give them some time before I check in with them because I like to see them. Finally, they'll come over like, what is this place? What is this about? And I go into my spiel, well, we're a creative reuse center, so we accept donations from the community, and then we offer it back up as cool arts and crafts materials for you to build with. And we have a low-tech makerspace for you to enjoy and build. So the window is an opportunity for not only bringing people into the store, but for making art and interesting things. And for the last few years, we've been involved with the Tacoma Light Trail. So these are some of my windows that I've done. And this last year, and this is just a picture, but it was the first year that I explored moving images, so building kind of a shadow puppet, revolving thing, so this goes around in the window casting shadows, which was really fun. And then some of my puppets. So these are mermaids made out of piano parts. So the tails are all hinged together. I carved the wood tails, and then I hinged them with the piano joints hinges. And yeah, so we just love found objects, and I feel like I'm hunching over. There we go. Yeah, so just being able to use the window. And the other thing is, so I love when people come in and they're getting ideas for their work and what they can do with the material. So sometimes people just come in for the whimsy and just to look around at the parts and see what we've done with them so that they can be inspired, or to say, oh my gosh, I shouldn't throw that stuff away. So a couple years ago, I did a project which was winter solstice trees, and every single day I used my social media to show people, well, here's the loose object before, and this is what I turned it into. So these are the 21 trees made out of random scraps from Tinkertopia. I think I just showed a couple of examples. So this is bottle caps. So I showed this on my Instagram, and then the tree from the bottle caps. And then crayons, crayon tree. And so I did that every day leading up to the solstice. And it was really fun, and people were chiming in. Oh yeah, so I just thought I would show, I think the rest of the pictures are my haunted dollhouse. So my grandmother was really into dollhouses, so my sisters and I were raised with miniatures, and I've been waiting to do a dollhouse forever, and I thought I would do a dollhouse made with tinker materials found at the shop, and I would haunt it with ephemera and things from my grandmother. And so I would do a drawing of my dollhouse that I got, just a scrap one, and then concept it out. So this is the haunted dollhouse idea, and then this is the haunted dollhouse. And I animate it. So I do stop animation, and we're getting, the process is slow, but we're starting to put these images on the Tinkertopia website so people can follow along, because this became a community project as well. I didn't know how many people would really be interested in this haunted dollhouse. People stop me on the street. I love your haunted dollhouse. And want to be inside the dollhouse. So that's the back porch of this just random dollhouse that I picked up from this lady who was throwing it away. There was the concept, and there's the the back stoop. And then, so this is just an image of an idea I had for inside the kitchen, and then some eerie kitchen picture. So this is a chandelier that I electrified. I made it with beads and wire. And this is the dollhouse. And up here, and this is a picture on the wall, a photograph of my grandmother when she was a girl. And so she's in the dollhouse. Yeah, so a really fun project. This is not done. People keep asking me, like, when it's done, are you going to bring it to the shop? No. But you'll just be able to check it out with the hauntedness of it. So there's a stop animation in this room with a Ouija board that I made, a teeny tiny Ouija board. I wish I could show you this, and it basically spells out messages as you're watching it. Yeah, so I'm just making it haunted and come alive, so it's been really fun. So there's my part. You want to take over?
Hello. So, I am a cartoonist and I do posters as well. This was my first work with Lance and Tom with their little underground letterpress project. And they wanted a Sonic Sky poster. So we did this. It was a lot of fun. And then unfortunately he passed away, and they invited me back to do a big memorial tribute to him. So you can get your picture taken with him here, standing next to him, next to the big mural. And this is on 6th Avenue by the Gather Juice place. So it's from silly poster to giant memorial mural. That's kind of what I've been doing. And then also, I used to work downtown in a building over here somewhere. This is Frost Park, and it was really boring. I was doing realtor websites and stupid stuff like that. So on my lunch break, I would just take long lunch breaks, and there's a little park over here, Frost Park. Hobos will take baths in the fountains over here, but there's big sidewalk slabs, and there's a lot of designers. There used to be around here, and so they wanted to put a big fence around this park and block it off from people. But we appeared and would occupy the park, so to speak, and we would do sidewalk chalking as something to do on the big things. And this is my son. He's like a moody teenager now, but I would always do, like, dune worms and stuff. And so, and then I would make, now that we have a shop, I'd do like little sidewalk chalking kits based on the experiences of the Frost Park things. And so I would put a little silly civil defense logo on it and call it the Sidewalk Commander. And so you'd just a funny kit based on our chalking things. And then somebody donated an old iPad Pro to Tinkertopia, and we reformatted it. And there's a really cool drawing program you can get for like $7, Procreate, and it's compatible with the Apple Pencil here. So our cartooning group has been working with the Grand Cinema to activate their after hours. They call it the Weird Elephant Film Festival. They show old movies, and so this is a rough sketch using that $7 application, and then we make our own movie posters. So this is the movie poster for Princess Bride and the Weird Elephant, and we sell the posters before the movies. And this was my Princess Bride poster, and so what I do when I'm not at Tinkertopia is, and then here's my Shrek poster, and this one was based on like the the African take on Western movies. They'd make the posters really violent to get people into this, just a boring movie, but the posters were like really crazy and violent just to get people in. So I wanted that version of Shrek. And then somebody mentioned traffic box wraps. And this is my traffic box wrap. I made it look like a Game Boy kind of thing. This is my son now, and this is his girlfriend. And this is my traffic box. Kind of a mashup of a bunch of old handheld video game things.
Where is it?
It's a university, so the stairs, the grand staircase is over here. So if you walk up the stairs, and this is that old church that's now like the art room for Fawcett 19th, something like that. And yeah, there's a big green field over here. Yeah, it's like Fawcett. What does that say? Fawcett, right there. Fawcett and 19th. So they paid me $1,300 or something to do this thing, and that was using the Procreate app here. Another thing I do is make junk bots. During the pandemic shutdown, I was making junk bots to kind of just occupy myself while the store was shut down. And so this is an old toolbox somebody donated and a bunch of old metal somebody dropped off. And so it's kind of like my take on a transformer. And I sent this to my brother in the mail as a gift. So it's just like a really jalopy garden junk bot. Another thing I do too is any donations that get dropped off, I kind of get first dibs on them. And so these are some old Hot Wheel cars that I was able to steal the shapes using silicone mold. And then, so I made silicone molds of these old Hot Wheel cars. And then another thing we get is through Tinkertopia is huge piles, never-ending supply of old crayons. And I can melt them and sustainable upcycled crayon molds here. So this is the Smokey and the Bandit car, an old 57 Chevy, a Bug, and of course you need a police car to chase the bandit here. So here's some more old, I've been collecting different versions of the Volkswagen Beetle. You can see the different versions here. So whenever a Volkswagen Beetle Hot Wheel car comes in, I add another different mold. So, and you know, resin is really expensive, but old crayon is really cheap, and you can make really fun upcycled crayons, any shape you want. So there's some crayons we sell in little color packs at the shop. And then my brother in Alaska is really into the little free art galleries. And so he's always making little scrap, mostly like salmon and eagles and stuff. And then, of course, I came up there to visit him in Alaska. This is the Mendenhall Glacier here. And I he really wanted me to get involved with this little free art gallery thing. So I made a bunch of dune themed little sand crawlers, some dune worms. And so we'd wake up in the morning, we'd paint these little wood scraps and stick them in the little free gallery. And of course, here's another Procreate illustration. Been working with the volcano for a while, and Jawless Jerry, the coyote that got his nose cut off, was they wanted a kind of a coyote illustration, cartoony, so it wouldn't scare people. So there's the coyote with his missing nose here on the cover of the volcano. This stack of papers got rained on, so I thought it was an interesting commentary on popular culture. And somebody donated an old sewing machine. This one you could stick a image on a floppy disk. It's a really old embroidery machine, so I've been trying to make really silly patches with it. Here's the old City of Tacoma logo. It used to have a rainbow on it, like in the 70s or 80s. They used to use this one. And so I was feeding that design into the sewing machine and making these patches. And here's a phrenology head I made using, I think that's an old toy of Mini-Me, I think. And I made it kind of like a Jeff Bezos phrenology head crayon. Phrenology heads are very popular around Halloween, so this is just crayon wax, so you could draw with it. And then, of course, we got an old Cricut machine dropped off, which is like it's like old. It like cuts out things. You put an image in it, and it cuts it out for you. And so I started making stencils, spray paint stencils with this machine. And so there's my JP patches, but of course I can't call it JP patches. I call it the TV clown personality for copyright issues. So I've been making these little clown stencils using donated spray paints that people drop off and whatever wood scrap we get to the shop. And so that's kind of side projects. I made this fake clown bombing campaign where just make a whole bunch of these and then just throw them on somebody's lawn or something. So it's really funny. So you might find one in the wild somewhere. And then here's more. I made a Doctor Who. These were like the ice cube trays, but I needed a Doctor Who, so that was just a construction worker. I made this big modeling clay hat and made the silicone mold so we could have the action play set. That's our store.
So I have the first question for you. How do you donate things? Do you preview what people want to bring you?
We have an online illustrated A to Z guide of what we take and what we don't take. And then we refer people to the email so that we can start a conversation and set up an appointment. Yeah.
Great. More questions?
What is the address of your shop?
Our address is 1914 Pacific Avenue, right across from the History Museum and on the UW campus.
And I just want to add, please consider Tinkertopia in your estate planning. What? I am looking for an electric delivery van because my 2000 Chevy Astro is time's ticking on that thing.
Any more questions? Questions? Thanks, you guys. So there's a sign-up list, email sign-up list on the clipboard next to the door on your way out if you're not already getting invitations to these shows. And the next show is the third Friday in May. Thanks for coming. Right there.